A very warm welcome back to the Football Martin channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Welcome along to this latest show here on the channel where I will be looking at the current Southampton squad. Who would I sell? Who would I loan? Who would I keep? And whose contract would I terminate this summer? With just 9 game weeks left, I think we are very clear on what must happen this summer. You can get involved in the comments box below. Give me all your thoughts on my thoughts on what I would do with this current squad, which is huge, by the way. If you're a member here on YouTube, you're getting to see this video before anybody else. So thank you for being a member. And if you're not a member, please do take a look. From just £1.99, you get your videos earlier than anybody else. There's some exclusive content which isn't put out to general release, and loads of behind the scenes content which is coming your way in the next couple of weeks. Some really exciting content that I'm going to bring to you here on my channel. Right, let's take a look at this match, or this squad, this current squad, and we'll trim it into what I think would be the nucleus of a match day squad for next season. But there's a lot of work to be done. It's a huge squad. Look, I've missed off a couple of players here. One of those being Juan. He's out on loan. There's Don Ballard. He's not on this list as well. But we'll talk about each and every player as we break down the squad. Well, the first one's quite an easy one to start with. I've got Sam Amieo on here. He's out on loan at Strasbourg, but he's been sold. So we can say that he has been sold. So we don't have any choice over it. He wouldn't have been in the sell category for me if it had been my choice. I would have kept him. I think he is a brilliant young talent. I'm really gutted not to see him in the red and white stripes of Southampton next season. So for me, massive disappointment he's gone, but Sam Amieo is gone. Another really easy one, and I'd keep him, but he won't stay. So we have to be realistic whilst we're doing this video as well. He's let 50 goals in this season. He's kept just 2 clean sheets in the Premier League. Aaron Ramsdale will be sold, and he will recoup a lot of money for Southampton. He'll recoup around £20 million. We will get back what we paid for him. Look, I would love to see him stay, but let's be realistic. He will be sold, Aaron Ramsdale. So he is in the sell category. He will leave the football club. There is no doubt about that. I'm going to start with the players that we know that are not going to be here. We know that Ramsdale is not going to be here. Kyle Walker-Peters is another one. Brilliant servant to this football club, but he will go. A total shame how he's been managed by both managers this season in the position that he's been asked to play in. The fact that he's never played in his right back position. I've said it here on the channel a lot. I feel for Kyle Walker-Peters to really exceed, he is a right back, and that is his best position. Not wing back, not right side centre back. He's a right back, and wherever he ends up, he will go and play as a right back, and he will do very well because he's a brilliant right back. Right, we know that Leslie Ugochukwu is on loan from Chelsea, so we know that it's not a sale, but he's going to be gone. So the contract will be terminated. So we'll put him in the terminate because the contract comes to an end. It's finished. He's on his way back to Chelsea. No doubt about that. We won't see him in the Southampton shirt next season. I think he's done okay this season. Patchy at times. Right, it's going to get tough now because we're going to start really digging into some of the squad that have been here for a while, and I think there's a lot of scar tissue, that Russell Martin used to call it. There'll be a lot of players that will be really hurt by this season, and they've been here for a long period of time. So we have to really take into account, do we think that they can bounce back and recover next season? There's another player on this list, Maxwell Cornet. He's gone already. That contract was terminated already. He was in the squad at the start of this season. He is now gone. So he's in that terminate category. Some big ones coming your way now, and that will be with Adam Armstrong. What would you do with Adam Armstrong? Would you sell him? Would you bring him back and keep him? I don't think he's loaned again. I'm not sure he'll have the hunger to come back and score the goals that he did last time round to fire us back to the Premier League. I think there's a big call to be made on Adam Armstrong. If it was me, he's got another year remaining on his contract, maybe more than that because he had an extension on it, maybe 2 years left on it. I'd keep him. I'd keep him for next season because I think in the Championship, we know what he can do. We know the damage that he can cause defenders and defences in the league. He knows it. And I think it'd be really sad to see him go because I think he'd be valuable next season for Southampton. I think he'd be a really, really, really important player. Right. Taylor Harwood-Bellis. What will happen with Taylor Harwood-Bellis? Will he be kept? I think if for a Championship club, we would want to keep him. I think I think in the ideal world, we want to keep him. Realistically, would you cash in on him and make a bit of money on him? He's not had the greatest Premier League season. Let's be honest. We know that he can do it in the Champ, but we know that he's not going to come back and be in the Premier League and be a Premier League player. So, do we really feel we want to keep him? Will he? He was good last season in the Championship. I'm real torn on this one. What to do with him? I think the club will look to recoup on some players. He will be one that will fetch us money. So I'm actually going to put him in the sale category, and that is, he's a top defender, top defender. No, I can't put him in this. I think the club will sell him. I think he will end up there. But if it was me, I'd keep him. I wouldn't sell him, but I think he will end up being sold. That's my gut feeling. His agent's busy already. He's got a new agency, and they're already busy. They're already busy. Right, Bella Kopchak. It's time for Bella Kopchak to be sold and moved on. Whether they can do that or not is another matter. But for me, Armand Bella Kopchak, I would let him go now, personally. Look, he stepped in and done a bit over the last couple of weeks. At the time of recording, at the international break, Thomas Tuchel had his first game as England manager on Friday. I'm recording this during that weekend. Bella Kopchak played the games before the international break. I just think it's time to cash in on him. I don't think he's got a great attitude. I don't think I've seen anything from him that suggests that, he's going to be good for the club or good for the people around us. It's time to move him on for me. So Bella Kopchak, I'd get rid. I would absolutely get rid. Right, Tyler Dibling. I think we all want to keep Tyler Dibling. We all want him here. We all want it to keep him. But let's be honest, the club are going to need to recoup some money. And they will cash in on him and sell him. I don't want him to go, but I think we're going to have to sell him probably to raise the money that's going to be needed for next season to rebuild our squad. He will be sold. There's no doubt about it. Man United are more than interested. They're clubs from all over Europe that are interested. Chelsea will be interested. There was a lot of talk of Tottenham. It's been to Chelsea and back already. I don't know where he'll end up, but he won't be in red and white stripes at Southampton next season. There's no doubt about that. Let's not kid ourselves. He won't be here next season. Right. A big one for me will be Will Smallbone. I'd keep him. Many of you wouldn't, and many of you are not his biggest fan, but I think he's proved that he can do it in the Championship. Under the right manager, I think he'd be more than fine in the Championship. And I think he's a really good squad player. Even if he's not a dead starter every week, I think he'd be really important next season. And I think he'd probably still end up being here, depending on the manager. And under the right manager, he'd do well. Under Martin, he was good. And another midfielder that's out on loan that will come back, Shay Charles. For me, Shay Charles next season, I'm building my team around him in midfield because he has been immense at Sheffield Wednesday. He's been brilliant. And Roll could become the manager at Southampton anyway. So for me, Shay Charles and Will Smallbone, I keep both of them in my squad if I'm choosing it. Absolutely, I keep those players. Right, a player's contract that I'd probably terminate and get rid of is Albert Grombeck. He's on loan. I don't expect him us to keep him. Other than run around a lot, I've not really seen anything from him at all. It was well known that he was lightweight. There was a journalist on BBC Radio Solent when he signed from France. He struggled to settle in France because he was lightweight and not physical enough. And you can see that from him. I don't think we'll keep him. And I wouldn't imagine his parent club will want to see him loaned again anyway next season. They want to recoup their money on him. So for me, Albert Grombeck, I would move on. Terminate his contract, move him on. Right, players I want to keep. Players I want to see next season. Wellington. He looked really good at Ipswich when he made his debut for Saints, and we've hardly seen him since. What even Juric is doing with him, I honestly don't know. He played a couple of home games. He got brought off at half-time. But Wellington will be quality next season. He looks a good player. So for me, Wellington, I keep him because I think he'd be a really, really important player for us next season. Centre back, a player brought in at the start of this season. We saw some really good performances from this man during the Christmas period. Was from Nathan Wood. I thought he was good. He'd play a key role next season. He'd be big for Southampton next season. So I'm keeping Nathan Wood for next season. Right, I've got a big decision now to make because I'm jumping around the squad a little bit here, but I'm sticking with a defender, and I want to talk about Yuki Sugawara. What do we do with Yuki Sugawara? Do we keep him, sell him, or do we loan him? I don't think he'll be loaned. He come in the summer. He's not done a lot. He isn't a very good defender, actually. I've been really disappointed with his defending. Handballs the ball in our own box a lot, gives away a lot of penalties. Will he be better in the Championship in a more physical league? I think he could get torn to bits. Do you know what? I'm going to be really harsh now and go as far as to say he's not one of the worst one-on-one defenders I've seen for a long time. I don't think he's going to be great in the Championship. I'd sell him. I'd sell him and move him on if I could. And I look to strengthen right back. I'd keep James Bree as a right back in the squad. I'd keep Breezy because I think he's shown glimpses of being really good this season, James Bree. He's out injured at the time of recording, but I keep James Bree next season. But I back it up because Walker Peters will go. I bring in another right back. I don't know who that is, but I keep Breezy without any shadow of a doubt. And another fullback I'd keep, and many of you will disagree with me, but for the Championship, we know he can do it. I'd probably keep Manning next season. Whether we will or not, I don't know. He's not a Premier League player, but in the Championship as a squad player, I think he'd be good backup to Wellington. But will he want to be back up to Wellington? Who knows? I would probably keep him. I think he'd probably be moved on. He'd be sold, or his contract to just end up getting terminated. Personally, I'll keep him, but I still think he'll end up getting sold or contract terminated. That's how I see it. Right, moving across the rest of the defence. Juan Larios, he struggled with injury, playing quite a bit in the under-21s. Is he somebody that's going to break through to the first team? He's short. Do you know what? I don't see him having a future with us. For me, I'd terminate his contract and move him on. I don't think we'll get any money for him. I think you've got to free up the squad. This squad needs work. This squad needs a lot of work, and I think he's definitely... We need players ready for the Championship next season with experience of the division for me if we're going to do well next season in this division. Right. Big decisions across this back four. Some really big decisions. Jan Bednarek. What do we do with Jan Bednarek? I think his time's up, personally. Clapton at the moment. I don't think he'll want to drop down to the Championship again. And you know what? He's been at the part of 2 9-0 defeats, 2 relegations, some of our worst defeats. And we know that he's not a Prem player. And I think we have to build players that are going to come in and do well in the Championship next season, but that then can take that step. I think it's time to sell him. There was interest from Roma in the window just gone, in the January window. He nearly went, he didn't. He's still with us, but I'd get rid of him now. I think it's time to move him on. Right, I'm going to jump into midfield because I think there's some easy decisions here. Flynn Downs for me stays. Flynn Downs for me doesn't go anywhere. I absolutely wouldn't have Flynn Downs going anywhere. I'd be keeping Flynn Downs. I think he's really, really important for next season, Flynn Downs. I think under the right manager, going to have to get his belief back. We know what he can do at that level. We won't go out and buy anyone better. We've invested around 16 million in him. I think we'll never get that back for him. So I'd keep him. Absolutely. Ronnie Edwards out on loan at QPR's doing well. Called up to England under-21s. An absolute must keep next season. Build your team around him for me. I think he'd be really, really important next season. Will Ronnie Edwards. I think he's going to be great for us. Another termination of a contract. I think Ross Stewart. I don't see Ross Stewart playing for Southampton really. It's injury setback again. Is he really going to make a comeback? It's getting a bit beyond the joke now. 8 million quid down the pan. Go and find players that can play in this division. That's what I would do. And I think it will be time to terminate his contract and move him on. We are not going to recoup that money. Cut your losses. Absolutely cut your losses. My squad is looking very, very thin, by the way, because I'm looking down on this group of players here and how the squad gets put together now, because I think it's getting harder and harder to decide what's going to be left from this group of players. Matheus Fernandes, I want to keep. I think a year in the Championship would be immense for him. I think he will be one of the assets, and he could potentially be sold. Is whether we get what we want for him. I'd keep him. I think he'd be dynamite in that Championship. I think he'd be magnificent. So for me, Matheus Fernandes must stay if we want to bounce straight back to the Prem. I think he's a really, really important player. And another man that I think could be really important next season will be Cameron Archer. Cameron Archer could be a brilliant player for Southampton Football Club under the right manager that can get the best out of him, can get some belief in him. He will score goals at the Championship level. There's no doubt about that. He's going to have 2 relegations in 2 seasons. Sheffield United then with us. How much is that going to hurt him as a player? Quite a bit, I would imagine. Right. Let's look at goalkeepers now. I'm going to jump into goalkeepers. Joe Lumley, I think, will stay and become the 3rd choice. Maybe the 2nd choice, but I think Joe Lumley will stay. I think Joe Lumley will remain at the club. I don't think he will go anywhere. When it comes to number 1 next season, I'm torn because I'm not convinced by Bazunu, personally. I like him, but will he be our number 1 next season? I think he makes a great backup goalkeeper. I think he makes I've got a really big decision to make on him. I don't know what the club would do. I'd keep him. I put Joe Lumley in Sal. I'd keep Joe Lumley. But Gavin Bazunu, I keep him. I think he'd be good. He could be a great number 2. Alex McCarthy, though, on the other hand, I find it amazing that we've kept with him. I really do. I think it's time for McCarthy's contract to be terminated and moved on. Would he be a good Championship goalkeeper? I'm not sure, but I'd terminate his contract and move him on. Free up the wages. He's a big earner at the football club. Joe Aribo. Big decision to be made on Joe Aribo. Last year of his contract next year. Do I think we'll keep him? He's played a good role at times this year. Was decent in the Championship last time round. I'd personally keep him as a squad player. Has he been really hurt by this season? Probably been really, really hurt by this season. Relegation last time round. I think he'd be sold. I do think he'd be sold. I'm torn between keeping him and selling him. I'd cash in, actually. The more I think about it, I'd cash in. And I think we'll reinvest and we go again. Right, it's getting tough now when you start looking at this squad. Sam Edozie, I'll bring him back and have him in the squad next season. We know what he can do at Championship level. He's not a Premiership player, I don't think, personally, but I think he can play a really good role for us next season. So Sam Edozie is a squad player in and around. Let's bring him back and see what he can do. I'd keep him. I'd absolutely keep him and have him around without any shadow of a doubt. I've got Ryan Fraser. Played no part this season at all, really. Hardly at all. But we know he could be a good squad player in the Championship next season. He's got a 2-year contract. No one's going to buy him. We're not going to get rid of him easy. So you're going to have to keep him. You keep him in your match day squad without any shadow of a doubt. Ben Brereton Diaz. I'd sell him. I'd get rid of him. I'd have rid of Ben Brereton Diaz without a shadow of a doubt. I think he needs to go. I don't see what he brings. Will he do anything in the Championship? Just don't like him as a player. I think he would be really hurt by what happened here this season. It's just not worked out any way or form. Right. I am down to my final few players that I have to decide what I'm going to do with them. What do I do with these final few players? One of those being the captain, Jack Stevens. Do I keep him for next season? Do I sell him? Or do we loan him? I'd keep him. And a lot of people wouldn't, but I'd keep him for the squad. I think he'd be important to have around next season. He can do a job in the Championship. I think as a squad player, he could be important. I think a lot of you would be saying, Sal, he's coming up to his final couple of years of his contract now. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go, but he's a proper clubman. I don't see him going anywhere. I don't see him going anywhere at all. I think he will I think he'd probably remain at the club. Adam Lallana, I think his contract will run out. Though I'm going to put him into the terminate section. His days are done as a footballer. He won't drop to the Championship next season. But I hope the club keep him involved, and he becomes the under-18 manager and stays at the club. So I hope we keep him. I put him in the keep, but not as a player. So he stays at the club, but not in a playing capacity. So Adam Lallana is in there, but for me, not to play. Charlie Taylor. Will we keep him next season? He'd be a good Championship player, I think. But this manager doesn't like him. He's not sure in him. What's he got? A 2-year contract with us? He's probably pretty unsettled. Probably had enough. Probably looking to move on. Could he be really good in the Championship next season? I think we got a better player in Wellington. So I'd terminate his contract and I'll move him on. I don't think we'll fetch any money for him. I think we'll move him on. I think we will move. Right, Joachim Sandra, if I pronounce that correctly, he was brought in January time. For the future, French under-21 captain, he's been bought for the future, so you'll be absolutely keeping him at the club. I don't think he goes anywhere at all, so I think he will be kept. Then there's 2 big decisions to make. Kamaldeen Silamana, do you keep him, do you sell him? I think you try and sell him. He's an asset of some sort. I don't think we're going to fetch loads of money for him, but I think he'd be sold. And I also think Paul Onuachu will be sold as well. I don't think a lot of people say rip the Championship up. I don't think I've seen anywhere near enough of him to believe that he will go on and do really well next season in the Championship. Right, that's how my squad's looking thin. It's a big clear out for me. There's also, you've got to bear in mind that there are other players that are out on loan. Right, there's 2 more players that I haven't included that are out on loan that we've not seen at the club. Wan and also Matsuki, if I pronounce those correctly. They're out on loan at parent clubs at the moment. Wan being the centre forward. Matsuki, if I pronounce it correctly, he's an attacking midfielder. He's out on loan as well. So we'll wait and see what happens with those. We've also got to think about Don Ballard. I don't think that he'd be loaned again. It's just kind of... It's not breaking through, is he? Do you know what I mean? It's a difficult one. I don't see him staying either. I've not added him to this ranking list. But, right, that's my thoughts on what I would do with the current playing squad. I think there's a lot of a huge rebuild to do. Give me your thoughts on what I've done here. Hopefully I've not missed too many players off. I think I've included everybody in this. I know there's a lot more younger players probably out on loan as well. And I do think that Jonas Boers this summer will get his manager quickly, because you need your manager quickly to then decide which way you're going to go. And if you've got somebody that's got really clear targets of players they want to bring in, they need to come together very quickly and start building their squad for next season. But it is going to be a massive, massive overhaul. Give me all your thoughts in the comments box below. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Smash a like on this video as well. Loads of Southampton content coming up for you here on the channel. And if you don't follow me on TikTok as well, make sure you go give me a follow there as well. Daily updates and content on there all the time. And as we head towards summer, the transfer shows will be back here on the Football Martin channel. And if you want to sponsor that, if you've got a brand or a business and you'd like to be the sponsor of that show this summer, please do get in touch. I've got some really good offerings going on right now, looking to grow this channel and take it to the next level. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you again soon in another video.